Greetings everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our look at the Watchmen. Today we're going to take a look at the two different Blu-ray editions. Well, actually there's a lot more than two different Blu-ray editions. But for the most part you have your director's cut and your ultimate cut. What's the difference between them? Why would you want both? Is there any reason to want both? Which one's better? What are the differences? What are the special features? All that good stuff. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Now, just before we get into this, I feel I need to clarify a little something that I said in the first part. What the hell? Noisy vehicles outside. Because there was a few of you that were a little bit confused by what I was saying. The whole thing where I said, the movie does not suck. Don't say, this movie sucks. Say, you did not like it. I don't see why it's so difficult to understand what I'm saying there. Like what the point is. The point is very simple. Saying this movie sucks is stating your opinion as fact. When something like The Watchmen meets just about every single textbook definition of what constitutes a well-made movie. Therefore, no, the movie does not suck, regardless of whether or not you personally liked it. Simply say, I did not like it. That is stating an opinion as an opinion. Saying this movie sucks is incorrect. The movie does not suck, whether or not you did not like it. Clear now? Good. Now, let's talk about the Blu-rays, shall we? So, some people were curious about what exactly these two editions are. I got some comments saying, I recognize this one, but I don't recognize this one. What is that? I've never seen it before. Well, this one, quite simply, is the director's cut. However, it's the limited edition SteelBook version from Future Shop. It was a Future Shop exclusive. In terms of the actual on-disc contents, there's really no difference at all. It's exactly the same contents as the regular 2-disc Director's Cut edition. And of course you have a third disc with a digital copy of the theatrical cut. So actually, between these two editions here, you've got all three versions of the movie in one form or another. Now, in terms of special features, there's quite a lot on here. You've got a bunch of featurettes. I'm not going to give you like a ton of detail about that because most of the features on here are duplicated on here. Okay, so we'll get into that in a little bit. So first off, let's take a look at the packaging, which is quite lovely. I did some nice high-res scans for you, which we're probably already in the middle of. I actually did try to scan the inside. Want to see how that turned out? Oh, take a look. Yeah, just a little on the fuzzy side. Let's get that off, get that off. Okay. The reason being, of course, anybody who does image scanning knows that basically to get a nice clean scan, you need it to be flat on the scanner bed. And something like this is raised and bumpy, so the image behind all the discs and everything doesn't really come out that well. But that's okay. All the artwork behind the discs in this edition is actually duplicated in the Ultimate Cut anyway, so you'll get a better look at that when we take a look at the innards of the Ultimate Cut. So here you got 3 discs. First disc with the movie, second disc with the bonus features, third disc with the digital copy, just a couple of minor inserts. One that gives you the info about how to unlock the digital copy, and then you just got a little promo booklet for other Warner titles. And you can get a bit of a look at the inside there. Character pics, which they used quite a bit in all of the various promotion. The one thing that's very cool about the Director's Cut edition, and one reason you may want to have it, even if you have the Ultimate Cut, is there's a particular mode that you can watch called Maximum Movie Mode. And what Maximum Movie Mode is it incorporates all the various featurettes that are on the first disc, plus it has behind the scenes info all the way through it. It's not like a running commentary. You basically watch the movie and you get like information and trivia and behind the scenes info, and occasionally the screen will pull back and Zack Snyder will actually walk out, pause the movie to talk about something specific. Now, all told, the movie runs 186 minutes on its own. but incorporating in all the Maximum movie stuff, you're looking about 4.5 hours. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I watched the whole thing, and because it was just awesome and fascinating. And Zack Snyder is a really dynamic, energetic, enthusiastic guy who's, you know, really easy to listen to, and obviously has a real passion for his work. I just found him really interesting. It took a couple sittings to get through the whole thing, but if you're at all interested in behind-the-scenes stuff, it is an absolute goldmine, a veritable treasure trove of behind-the-scenes tidbits. Now, if you want to go even further into the behind-the-scenes stuff, there's some stuff on the Ultimate Cut that is not on the Director's Cut. Now, for the most part, all the extras that are on the Director's Cut have been moved over to the Ultimate Cut as well. The only thing you don't get is the Maximum Movie Mode. That is exclusive to the Director's Cut version. Also, you don't get the Director's Cut of the movie on the Ultimate Cut. You only get the Ultimate Cut. There's a digital copy of the theatrical cut as well. That pretty much covers the Director's Cut. You have the movie, you have, I believe, 11 featurettes and a couple of other featurettes, all of which are on both sets. But the reason to get it is for the Maximum Movie Mode. And also just for the Director's Cut, because it's not available in the other edition. The Director's Cut runs about 24 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. Alright, so that covers the Director's Cut edition. Very nice and very snazzy, and if you happen to luck out and get this SteelBook, good on you. I think it goes for about 50 bucks right now. What did I pay for it? I think I paid about 30 because I got it when it was brand new. There was a lot of, I should mention also, there was a lot of different editions of Watchmen that came out on DVD and Blu-ray. A lot of different, various exclusives for different stores. I think there was one that was Dr. Manhattan's, like a Dr. Manhattan face mask kind of thing. Sort of like the Batman ones they did for the Dark Knight. I think there was a Rorschach one somewhere. I seem to recall somebody mentioning at some point. By far the coolest one that I saw was actually an Amazon exclusive. I got a picture of it here for you. Yeah, check that out. It's the Owl Ship. How cool is that? And then the discs are stored in a tray in the base of the model. So what a beautiful display piece. I know at least a couple of my viewers plunked down for that one. I wasn't as big on that. I tend not to get a lot of the big set piece collectors sets like that, just because they take up so bloody much space. I mean, yes, they're beautiful display pieces, no question. A, they're expensive, but more so B, they take up space. And, you know, with a collection as ever-growing as mine, space is always a concern. So I tend to be really picky when it comes to getting the big packages like that, because they just take up way too much space. So as far as deluxe packaging goes, I was quite happy with the SteelBook, because it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it looks snazzy, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a collector's item, you know, limited edition. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so moving right along to the Ultimate Cut. Now, when Watchmen was released in theaters, you may recall there was a couple of tie-in releases that were put out directly to DVD and Blu-ray, namely the Watchmen motion comic, which basically adapted all 12 issues of the comic book as a motion comic, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and Tales of the Black Freighter. Now, Tales of the Black Freighter is taken straight from the comics. In the original comic book, it was basically a comic within a comic. There was a little subplot about this kid who would hang out at this local newsstand, and every day he would read an issue of this comic book called Tales of the Black Freighter. Much to the annoyance of the newsstand owner, because he was never buying it. He was just sitting there reading it the whole time. The interesting thing about Tales of the Black Freighter, as a lot of you are probably aware, there's a lot of parallels between the story of Tales of the Black Freighter and the main story of the Watchmen. And in the comic book especially, they were very tightly interwoven. You would actually have the narration of one overlapping with the other, and they would crisscross. You know, you would have the narration of Tales of the Black Freighter over top of panels of the main story, and vice versa. So it was like, it was really tightly interwoven and, you know, pretty much inseparable. So it was kind of interesting to me that they adapted Tales of the Black Freighter as an animated special and released it on its own. Now, on the original Tales of the Black Freighter disc, it also contained a bonus feature called Under the Red Hood. Now, Under the Red Hood was based on a lot of the backup features in the original 12-issue miniseries. Now, as most of you will know from watching the movie, Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl, writes an autobiography about his experiences with the Minutemen. Now, in the original comic books, they would actually include excerpts from that autobiography as a backup feature at the end of certain issues. Now, they didn't obviously do the whole thing, because, I mean, it doesn't actually exist, so it's excerpts, when really that's all there is. But you know what I mean. So they did it as a backup feature, and it was great because it gave you a lot of additional insight into the back history of the Minutemen. So what they decided to do for the movie was, obviously they couldn't really incorporate that into the main flow of the movie because it would just interrupt things too much. And they obviously couldn't just put up pages of text for you to read because that would be ridiculously boring. So instead, what they did was they took that material and adapted it into a faux documentary, done in the style of a documentary that may have been done back in 1985. And that was included as a bonus. It's about an hour-long documentary which adapts all that material and gives you a ton of information about the Minutemen. A lot of stuff that you just do not get from the main movie. So it works as a wonderful supplement to the main story and is very much a part of the main story. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking out Under the Red Hood. Now, Under the Hood, sorry. I've been saying Under the Red Hood the whole time. That's that new Batman animated movie. Damn these similar titles. It's called Under the Hood, not Under the Red Hood. That's the Batman movie. Okay. So anyway, I thought it was pretty cool that they adapted that as a pseudo-documentary as a bonus feature on Tales of the Black Freighter. And of course, then I was thinking like, well, I hope they put that in with the Ultimate Cut because that would really make it ultimate to have everything together in one place. And sure enough, the Ultimate Cut does include Under the Hood as a bonus feature. Now, in terms of the extras on the Ultimate Cut, there is pretty much everything from the director's cut except for the aforementioned maximum movie mode. So you have all the featurettes and all the little documentaries and such, plus the added bonus of having Under the Red Hood, and you have a feature-length commentary with director Jack Snyder, and then a second feature-length commentary with the original artist of the graphic novel, Dave Gibbons. Pretty cool. I've not listened to the full Dave Gibbons commentary yet. I have listened to the Zack Snyder one, and it's awesome. Let me just pause here for a moment, and I'll share one of my favorite moments from that commentary. We talked a lot about Dr. Manhattan's penis in the previous episode. Now, you know I think it's the very first scene where you actually see Dr. Manhattan in non-flashback, where Rorschach goes to talk to him at the beginning of the movie, and he's working on his machine, and he's gigantic. Well, apparently originally he was going to be turned towards the camera, but they decided it's probably not such a good idea because of something in particular. Especially because of the way the shot was framed. The way the shot was framed, apparently, his gigantic tree trunk of a penis would have been dead center in the shot. And then, of course, he shrinks down to normal size to talk to Rorschach. So you would have had this massive penis, dead center in the shot, slowly shrinking down to normal size. Yeah, so rather than do that, they decided to have Dr. Manhattan slightly turned, facing the other direction, so you just kind of see a side butt cheek shot, and then he shrinks down. A little less ridiculous that way. But I mean, even Zack Snyder recognizes how hilarious and ridiculous that would have been, and he's laughing his ass off as he's describing that in the commentary, and it's pretty funny stuff. But anyway, great commentary, very lively and very interesting. Normally I'm not a big fan of commentaries where it's just one person talking. I mean, they have to have a really dynamic personality in order to hold your interest, especially for something like the Ultimate Cut of Watchmen, which is 3.5 hours. He does a great job. He does a great job. The only other one I can think of who was similarly captivating doing a solo commentary was Robert Rodriguez, who did some great commentaries, especially for El Mariachi and Desperado. Anybody at all interested in independent filmmaking absolutely has to listen to those commentaries for El Mariachi and Desperado. They are invaluable information and really get the wheels turning. He has some really, really good advice for budding filmmakers, so check those out, just as an aside. So, let's dive right in here and see what all we got in the Ultimate Cut of Watchmen.